reawaken to your immortal identity and discover life between life's wisdom. Presented by the Michael Newton Institute.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode for Michael Newton Institute's Wisdom Series, a podcast that I love bringing to all of you. And I'm so happy and actually very honored to have with me Dr. Jigna Sampat, a person who is from the world of finance, money, abundance, prosperity. She's dabbling it in all levels of her life. Dr. Jigna has worked across the globe. She's been in the UK, she's been based in India, she's been based in the US, and she's at present based in the Middle East. She has worked in 2 different countries in the Middle East, and I take great pleasure in welcoming Dr. Jigna to our podcast today. A very warm welcome, Dr. Jigna, and so happy that you're here with us.
Thank you so much, Indrani, for the warm welcome. I'm very happy to be here.
So, Jigna, I'm very curious to know that for a lady who has, through different decades of her life, and I know it because I know your fascinating story, I would love to hear you share with our viewers your journey from India to where you are today. You've literally moved in every decade of your life. You've experienced different cultures, different environments, and they must have brought for you different challenges, different learning. Would you like to share that with us?
Absolutely, I'd love to, Indrani. So, an Indian by origin. I've moved to Saudi Arabia when I was 5 years old, and I spent my formative years in Saudi Arabia. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and because the contrast between India and Saudi Arabia wasn't sufficient at the age of 16, I decided to go to Norway. I was actually extremely fortunate. I received a scholarship from the United World Colleges, and I was selected to go attend the school in Norway. So I got to live and experience Scandinavia for a couple of years. And, to say that that completely took me out of my comfort zone at 16 years of age to experience such polar, different environment and people, and the curriculum that I was exposed to, and learning skills, managing to live by myself for the first time away from my family, and also looking after myself in a foreign environment. It was quite challenging and rewarding at the same time. And subsequent to Norway, I went and lived in Canada to do my undergrad. And after Canada, I went and lived in the United States, where I went to a graduate school. And from graduate school, I went on to work in the United States as well. And I was very fortunate to start my career in Manhattan, where all the action is, and experience and learn from the stalwarts, and do groundbreaking stuff. Interesting questions being answered there, questions that no one else could answer around the globe would come to our desk, and we would get to tackle them and resolve them. Having done that for a few years, I got married, and when I got married, I needed to move, back east. So baby steps, we started with London. I worked in London for a couple of years, and then I came to Dubai, which ended up becoming my home for a dozen long years. So that's been my journey overall. My most recent move has been into Saudi Arabia. And so it's been like of coming home full circle. And, you never know. When I was doing my PhD in Atlanta, my dad used to tell me that you should take this PhD and come be a professor in a university in Saudi Arabia. And I used to say, there's no way, Dad, I'm going to do that. And now my office is across the street from a university in Saudi Arabia. So I guess my dad manifested that for me. But anyway, so that's been my journey. Learnings along the way, if you ask me, you never know where life will take you if you keep an open mind and, follow, be true to yourself and follow follow the path that's in front of you. Go seeking adventure, and the adventure will come to you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So here is this beautiful spirit who's, she's hopped from land to land, and she kept picking up messages and lessons and learnings. And I think, coming from the world of spiritual consciousness, and that's what we do. I mean, I do. That's my line of work, enabling people to connect to their own consciousness, connect to their own soul's potential, and then flourish in it in whichever space they're in. So, Dr. Jigna, that makes me want to ask you, and in every decade of your life, you literally moved into different worlds. You moved from something known, where you moved into something unknown, and then that became known to you, and then you moved again into something unknown again. So, I would love to know that I know Dr. Jigna is PhD Dr. Jigna, and your world is economics and transfer pricing and financial services, and that's a very earthly space, money, or the element of money. Whereas when I think of the spiritual aspect, or the spiritual consciousness, and how it balances or how it feeds or enhances the understanding of the world of finance, how would you see the two? Spiritual consciousness, the way you've explored it in your growing up years and who you are today, and how does that play a role in the world of finance?
Big loaded question, and I will try my best to answer it. But I would say that, in my younger years, I was probably operating from a space of faith and belief, and so probably more spiritually conscious without being aware that I was spiritually conscious, if I may put it that way. So I had complete faith in my abilities. I never once doubted that I wouldn't be able to manage the task that was being set for me. In fact, I was dreaming up tasks for myself that perhaps my parents were going to need some convincing of when I told them about the tasks that I was setting myself up for. So at that point, I think I really had a very much of a faith-based approach, and that approach, the faith was in myself. And I would say that as I got older, perhaps I lost touch with that part of myself. But in my 20s, I think it was all about tenacity. If I may share an anecdote with you, which sort of throws light on when you want something bad enough, it will come to you, or your brain is working and your subconscious mind is working to getting it for you. I was writing code for my dissertation, and my data set was huge, and I'd have to invert matrices, and I needed the full computer lab's capacity to do it. So I booked the lab for the whole night when no one was there, and I'd be writing code. And I remember that I'd been in there 3 hours, and the program just wasn't working. And I went home and I went to sleep, I gave up. I was quite frustrated. And then I woke up in the wee hours and wrote a note to myself in my sleep, because I was sleeping with pad and paper pen next to me. And I had found the extra dot that I needed to remove in my sleep. So, without tenacity and without effort, I was nothing. I believed that. And so I went for everything that I wanted with a lot of effort, and, with the grace of the gods, I was rewarded for my efforts. And then I think my 30s, I've been, I became a mother to two boys, and the focus was more on balance, being able to juggle both the world of finance so many doubts that you have, and overcoming the doubts that you have. I mean, will I be able to be a good mother if I keep working? Will I be happy being just a mom if I don't work? So many questions that you grapple with, and then you find the path that is right for you. And I happy to say that at 43, I'm really enjoying my 40s and feel like I have achieved my potential for where I want to be right now.
So, Dr. Jigna, when you were sharing about that midnight experience that you went through where you're half asleep and the answer comes.
Yeah.
So, from the world that I come from, where, we're grappling with the understanding of the mind, the conscious mind, the subconscious, and then the soul consciousness, the superconscious self. It's so beautiful because when you were sharing the experience, the way I could understand is your conscious mind faced the deadlock, which is why you packed up, got frustrated, went back home. And then when you are asleep, your conscious mind is asleep. And that is when your soul consciousness is speaking to your subconscious. And the answer is so potent and strong, it wakes you up enough for you to jot down the answer, which essentially means you knew the answer. It was just sitting in the deeper recesses of your inner self. The moment
Yeah.
the conscious mind control went down with sleep, that part was able to speak and guide you because your potential, it already in one reality had already manifested this. And you were able to therefore then do it and get the result that you did.
Yeah.
And when you use this formula, and this is where I was going to come to, that experience of yours and the fact that a large part of your growing up years, there was a lot of faith-based experiences that you went through, which took you from point A to point B and so on. When you're today in this world of finance, grappling with something which is quite earthly, how much does this aspect of you help you, guide you, or how much, if I may ask, on a daily basis are you being able to tap into it? Do you at all on a regular basis?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so when I said to you that it was faith-based and, but without so much of awareness, the awareness has crept in, I would say, in recent times.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have moments where I know that my intuition or my subconscious mind is trying to tell me something.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier I was not aware that it's telling me something and I need to slow down and pause and listen.
Mm-hmm.
But now I will be interacting with a client or a colleague, or I'll be looking at a problem, and before I can fully articulate in my brain, my intuition has already arrived at the path that needs to be taken or the approach that needs to be taken or the thing that needs to be said. And now I've started to say this phrase like, yeah, I was waiting for my hypothalamus to catch on with my intuition. And that has happened a few times to me. So absolutely, I've gotten better at listening to the voice that's guiding me on, okay, it's probably best if you don't say anything right now. And it's probably best if you listen really, really hard right now. And, the way that this person is conducting himself in a meeting seems to have a message, and just pause and listen and understand what the writing on the wall is. So that happens every day.
Wow. Wow. So, I'm very curious to know this, Dr. Jigna. I can quite imagine that your daily life must be super fast paced. You could be probably accounting for every breath you take, literally. And in that kind of a 24 hours, you're a mother, you have a household, you have a family, you have a very demanding workspace. How do you, or do you at all, have any time on a daily basis where there's anything that you do which enables you to connect with your intuitive self? Because, when you said that voice speaks to you, that's actually your inner self, your own soul self talking to you, that's guiding you. And to be able to harness that or to be able to connect to that part of yourself, is there anything that you do on a regular basis that helps you to
Yeah,
connect to this part?
absolutely. So my guide has taught me some techniques on in this area.
Your guide, did you just say your guide? So is that
Yes,
a guide from another dimension or an earthly guide? I'm very curious. When you say
the
guide
guide
to
the guide that you're speaking to right now.
Dr. Jigna, I just wanted to know that, do you have any practice? I know you have a very heavy day schedule. You must be accounting for every hour that you have in a day. But because you have this connection to your intuitive self, and you have been a person who's come from a background where you based a lot of your life, a lot of your experiences on faith, to connect to this intuitive self, is there anything that you do on a daily basis or a regular basis? Anything at all?
Yes, absolutely. It's what you need to do to replenish on a daily basis so that you're operational on a daily basis. I have maybe, through guidance that I received from my mentor and guide, but a number of tools available to me, and I will pick the ones that make the most sense to me, but on a given day. But I think the ones that I'm most persistent and consistent with is that I do try to start my day with meditation, looking for the indigo or the purple behind the eyes, and then seeing where I will go from there. I do have, a commitment to my physical well-being in the form of going to the gym, and I do find that that helps with processing a lot. So impact from running or exercise will help to process and remove a lot of buildup that takes place during the day. And then listening to subliminal affirmations sometimes when I feel like I'm going through a particularly challenging phase and I need that extra help and extra push. And when something is particularly difficult to process, reaching out to my guides and asking them for support and to deconstruct the problem. Not ashamed to ask for help at all. Reaching out before things become an issue, to be honest, is my way of dealing with things.
Dr. Jigna, you've actually shared something, and I'm very grateful that you've done this, that whichever space that you may be in life, it is absolutely fine to seek the support, because the support is always there. When you were saying guide, there's that other part of me which was saying, is she talking about her spirit guide, her animal, her spirit animal, or is she talking about someone in this earthly space who's probably guiding her to connect with those aspects of herself? So the fact that you do this, the fact that you are finding tools and techniques to take care of anything that's building up at any level. And one of the very important word that you use, deconstructing. Deconstructing is so important because it enables us to learn the art of disassociation. Because the moment you are able to disassociate in any given scenario, it's no longer an obstacle or a deadlock, because you've found that it's nothing but a challenge that I can easily overcome. I just need to find the resources that will enable me to be able to take whatever steps I need to take to get to the other side. So
also, it's okay if I can't get to the other side. It's okay if I can't do something, right? It's like my sense of self doesn't get intertwined or associated with that. And the realization that I am enough and I'm good the way I am, and whatever I achieve, it's great, but to not be entangled in that so much that you lose yourself in it.
so true, so profound. And this is so powerful, which you just said, because you are in a world where there is a lot of marked definitions of success,
Yes.
if I'm in my humble way understanding right. And it is very fast paced. There's a lot of hustle there. There's a lot of energy that's constantly at play in the world that you work in. And I would love to know that as a woman in the Middle East, in the world of finance, how do you juggle? Because I can only imagine it could be possibly quite challenging at times.
Yes.
How do you see that evolve? How has it evolved?
I don't doubt myself. I let others do that for me. There's plenty that will do that. So I don't doubt myself. I I have faith in the journey that I've had. I have faith in the skill set that I have put together, acquired over the course of time. And I always give it my best. And really, that is all I can do, is give it my best. So once I've done that, and oftentimes when I begin a task, I know that in all probability, I'm going to invest a significant amount of time into this exercise, but the monetary benefit to me personally from this exercise may not be very great. But whatever you do, it's worth doing it well. So I make it a habit to do my best for whatever task has been given to me, regardless of what the outcome is going to be. And usually, I found that one way or another, whether it's through goodwill or whether it's through good wishes or just purely creating a good relationship with someone, the experience is rewarding in its own way. You may not win the project, but the client will appreciate the effort you made and remember you for it, for instance. So.
Wow. Wow. That was amazing. Thank you, Dr. Jigna. And viewers, remember we're coming back very soon with part 2 of this ongoing dialogue and a very interesting discussion that we're having with Dr. Jigna. Dr. Jigna, we're coming back very soon with part 2 of this.